right now that would be a challenge for Indonesia and as well Asia? What are the risks out there that we need to anticipate?
I think all economies in the world, and Indonesia is no different, have to be prepared for a variety of risks. I'll mention 3 of them. The first one is probably monetary policy tightening, compounded with inflation rising, with appreciation of certain currencies, such as the dollar, with tightening of financing, and that could have an impact on the financing of corporates, and with possibly capital flow reversal. So that, I think, all economies which have been on the receiving hand of capital flows have to be very cautious about that. So that's one category. I'd say second category of risks have to do with the temptation of protectionism and of trade restrictions. You know, trade has been beneficial to Indonesia. You are exporting quite a lot, you're importing as well, but in the main you have been beneficiary. If there were trade restrictions, you know, non-tariff or tariff barriers, sanctions imposed by some countries, that could hurt an economy which is open to the export and to the import, as Indonesia is. And the third category is not really an economic category. It has more to do with geopolitical risks. And there are many of them. You know, whether it's the risk of deterioration of the situation between the Koreas and others, or whether it is risks in the Middle East, or whether it's, you know, more friction and tension between large players. I think there are many possible clouds on the horizon, and everybody needs to be cautious and, you know, anticipate them to protect against them.
But how do you monitor the government policies in order for these government or for the countries to avert the next big crisis?
Well, what any government needs to have is a good toolbox, you know, and those tools have to be adjusted. You need to have monetary policy tools, so you can play with various of them. You need to have fiscal buffers, so that in case there is a shock, in case of hard times, then you can use those buffers to stimulate the economy if necessary. And you need to have enough diversification in export and in the sources of growth. By that I mean a business-friendly environment, as little bureaucracy and red tape as possible, so that the private sector operators can actually develop, can create businesses, so that the many entrepreneurs of Indonesia can feel comfortable creating their business, developing it, and from the startup level, which you have many of, they can move up to the next stage and become the large, solid players of tomorrow.
So you mentioned about digital economy earlier. This is something that you talked about with the president as well. But what is the digital economy impact on the global economy?
The digital impact on the global economy is going to be multifaceted. If you look at the benefits of it, it is going to improve connectivity. It is going to make finance more inclusive. It is going to generate new businesses. It is going to equip people who did not have access to certain markets to suddenly have access. I mean, you know, you have GoCheck, for instance, here in Indonesia. How many hundreds of thousands of people now have a job, a compensation, and a living as a result of that? So in that way, it is immensely beneficial, and it will improve the productivity over the course of time. On the, you know, on the more negative side, it can provoke disruptions in the currency business, you know, with the cryptocurrencies. It could lead to instability if it is not transparent and identified enough. It will certainly disrupt the way in which business is conducted, and it requires that people from early age to much later in their professional life be educated in the skills that will be needed to adjust to that new economy.
Let's talk a little bit about cryptocurrency that you mentioned, and how everybody's talking about how speculative it is. And the Indonesian Central Bank has already posed a ban on cryptocurrency as a payment system, but is looking to issue a digital rupiah. But what do you think about this? What is the right approach to this?
It's a very subtle trade-off between maintaining stability, and you're really trading on trust when I speak about stability in currency matters and in the financial sector in general, as we have seen in the past. So the trade-off is between that stability based on trust and innovation, which is necessary, which will help us gain productivity, which will disrupt well-established sector that maybe need a little bit of that competition. And it's that trade-off which needs to be decided on a cooperative basis. It cannot be decided in isolation. It needs a cooperative effort on the part of many regulators and supervisors, many authorities of the asset and securities market, participants from the private sector. You know, the major players need to be involved as well, because really all aspects of the business need to be re-examined, from legal to tax to societal to education to market regulations. And it's something that we are very keen to participate in and to offer a forum for.
What has been the IMF role in conducting talks about cryptocurrencies and the development?
You know, in the field of cryptocurrency and FinTech, because FinTech is also a development that we are seeing, or in the field of cyber risks and security, we have not only talked, but we have also produced publications to try to analyze those issues, measure the risks, propose policies. And we will continue to hold those discussions and to bring people into our platform, which is a very open and all-inclusive platform, because we have 189 members.